Good morning. This agenda item is to discuss and consider adopting emergency regulations for California halibut to reduce daily bag limit and possession limits in anticipation of greater fishery pressure due to salmon fishing closures. The current regulations are for California halibut specify a daily bag limit that encompasses both bag and possession limit of 3 fish for the area north of Point Sur, Monterey County. And the department is recommending emergency action to reduce the limit in the area from 3 to 2 fish. And those materials are in your binder, in your meeting materials. And that is in response to potential effort shift from the recently announced closure of the 2023 ocean salmon fishing season in conjunction with reductions in near-shore groundfish opportunities. The Department of Fish and Wildlife Marine Region will give a presentation and highlight the details, rationale, and analysis that have underpinning this recommendation. Christine Lasagna, environmental scientist with the Marine Region, will give that presentation now.
All right. Good morning, President Sklar and Commission members. My name is Christine Lasagna with the Marine Region State Managed Finfish and Nearshore Ecosystem Program. I'm here today to give a presentation on the proposed emergency regulations to reduce the daily bag and possession limits for the recreational California halibut fishery. Next slide, please. Today, I will discuss the background of the current regulations for the recreational halibut fishery, the data considerations that department staff analyzed, the need for the proposed regulatory emergency action, and finally, the department's outreach efforts to stakeholders and tribes. Next slide, please. Title 14 California Code of Regulations, Section 28.15, currently allows for a daily bag and possession limit of 3 fish north of Point Sur, Monterey County, for the recreational halibut fishery. In 2023, recreational anglers began reaching out to department staff, expressing concerns about a potential effort shift to the halibut fishery due to the closure of the salmon fishery. A similar effort shift was observed during the 2008 and 2009 salmon fishery closure. Thus, department staff began analyzing available data to consider a reduction in the recreational daily bag and possession limit for the northern fishery. Next slide, please. The department analyzed multiple factors in considering a bag limit reduction, and today I will discuss 3 of these: recreational catch, recreational effort, and environmental conditions. Next slide, please. So this figure shows the recreational take estimates of California halibut in Northern California. Kept fish are shown as a solid blue line, and sublegal releases are shown as a dashed orange line. You can see that during the salmon closure of 2008 and 2009, there was high take of halibut, 54,000 and 43,000 fish respectively, and in years following the closure, fishing success declined, and the fishery entered a 6-year low period from 2011 to 2016. By 2013, 4 years after the closure, catch estimates dipped to just below 5,000 fish. The fishery rebounded in 2017, which coincided with the beginning of a warm water phase 3 to 4 years earlier. Next slide, please. Due to missing fishing opportunities in 2023 for salmon, we expect anglers to target halibut, which will increase fishing pressure and ultimately take this year. We observed another effort shift during the last salmon closure in 2008 and 2009. Effort is challenging to project. However, the figure shows the number of anglers on board CPFVs that retained halibut in Northern California, as recorded in CPFV logbook data. During the salmon closure in 2008, the number of fishers retaining halibut on CPFVs doubled compared to the previous year. Halibut fishing effort in 2023 could increase significantly beyond the already high effort experienced by the fishery in 2022. Department staff and industry stakeholders are currently observing anglers targeting halibut who are achieving limits or near limits already this season. Next slide, please. While halibut are regulated by a minimum size limit that protects immature individuals from take, cold water periods limit the success of reproduction regardless of maturation status. Egg and larval survival diminish during cold water periods, And according to the NOAA Climate Prediction Center, the Oceanic Nino Index indicates that environmental conditions have primarily been classified as cold water periods since halfway through 2020. This indicates the egg and larval survival for halibut have been low since that time, and the last warm water period, which results in higher halibut egg and larval survival, was documented in 2019. Because there is a 3 to 4 year lag until halibut reach the minimum size limit from the larval phase, it is likely that the fishery will see limited recruitment with new individuals until 3 to 4 years after environmental conditions change and warm water periods are documented again. It is likely that many halibut, primarily females due to sex-specific growth rates, born in 2019, will be legal to take this year or next year, with fewer fish recruiting into the fishery in the coming years. With climate change, the prediction of environmental conditions has become increasingly difficult. The inability to forecast environmental conditions increases the magnitude of potential harm if cold water conditions persist and regulations are not implemented to sustain the stock. Next slide, please. Due to the expected recreational effort shift, the expected impacts of cold water conditions that constrain recruitment, and the interest from the recreational industry, the department is recommending an emergency action to promote sustainability of California halibut. The goal of this proposal is to lessen the impact on the halibut resource and an anticipated decline in halibut fishing success in subsequent years without jeopardizing this popular recreational fishery. This emergency action will reduce the recreational daily bag and possession limit from 3 fish to 2 fish in areas north of Point Sur, Monterey County, effective immediately. This change would automatically trigger a reduction of the possession limit from 3 to 2 fish because no more than 1 daily bag limit may be possessed unless otherwise authorized. Based on fishing effort and total average annual catch estimates from recent years, 2018, 2019, and 2021, reducing the daily bag and possession limit to 2 fish could result in a savings of 13%, which is approximately 7,450 fish. Next slide, please. The department has received several requests from CPFB operators and recreational anglers to consider a bag limit reduction to 2 fish. On April 13th, the department released a marine management news blog announcing the proposal. Staff received positive feedback from industry over the phone and directly in the field. On March 29th, the department provided notification to 211 tribes to inform them of the proposed regulatory change. Next slide, please. In summary, the department recommends emergency action to reduce the daily bag and possession limit from 3 to 2 fish in Northern California for the recreational fishery. This is expected to promote sustainability of the halibut population and fisheries from the salmon closure effort shift and coinciding cold water phase. Next slide. We look forward to maintaining open lines of communication as we continue our work on California halibut. You can visit our webpage through the first link to find more information about the California halibut scale management process, and also subscribe to receive email updates. The second link will direct you to our California halibut enhanced status report. And you may also email MLMA Fisheries Management with questions or concerns at any time. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you very much. Fellow commissioners, any questions or comments for Christine? Not seeing anybody.
President Clark?
Yes, please.
If I might, I just want to remind members of the public that we require that requests to provide comment be noted at the beginning of agenda items. So whenever you're in the meeting room, we ask that public speaker cards be submitted when the item starts. And on Zoom, we give you several minutes at the beginning of the agenda item to raise your hand. So if you raised your hand after that initial request for comments, you are not in the queue for speakers. So please pay attention and raise your hand during that request for public comment. Once staff has noted all speakers for the agenda item, they will lower all hands at the same time. So you don't need to worry about raising your hand again if you raise your hand during that initial request.
Great, thank you, Melissa. And with that, David, how many speakers do we have on this topic?
We have 8 speakers.
Okay, let's give everybody 2 minutes each, please.
Our first speaker will be James Stone, followed by James Smith. James Stone, go ahead, please.
Thank you, President Sklar, commission staff, department staff. I just wanted to say that on behalf of NorCal Guides and Sportsmen's Association, that there has been a lot of dialogue between the department and recreational anglers for years about a halibut possession or daily bag limit of 2 fish, and has been supported by many anglers for years. And we do recognize that the effort shift of the salmon closure is real and will happen, and recognize the support for the 2 fish emergency limit. Thank you.
Our next speaker is James Smith, followed by Caitlin Birch. James Smith, go ahead, please.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is James Smith. I'm the owner-operator of California Dawn Sport Fishing, second generation captain. And I've grown up San Francisco Bay, and it's a second home to me. I'm also a GGFA member, board member. And we've been pushing for a 2 fish limit for the past 2 years on the halibut. The reason being is, well, we've seen the writing on the wall with the salmon closures. We seen the crash coming, and we knew we had to do something right away. But now that salmon's closed, we've seen a huge shift in effort concentrated on the halibut throughout San Francisco Bay, along with anglers as far south as Santa Barbara and as far north as the Oregon border, who've converged on this fishery without salmon as an option, along with large charter CPFV vessels, 6-pack commercial vessels, salmon vessels, commercial hook and line vessels that would normally not fish this bay. There's a lot of boats out here now. And so this is why we're pushing for a 2 fish limit. Like Christine said, we're roughly going to say 13% of the catch. So coming off a cold water year, which we've experienced this year, it's hard to say what the survival rate was on the juveniles. And you'd think I'd be opposed to this because I run a charter boat for a living. This is my livelihood, but it's quite the contrary. We had an up year on halibut before the last salmon closure, and we virtually had no fish to catch the following year. And I think most of the brood stock was taken out of the bay, and it took quite some time, maybe 7-8 years for this fishery to rebound. And now we're kind of at historic numbers. I mean, everybody's getting limits. There's tons of fish out here, but we're asking the department to be proactive and not reactive, because we want to see this fishery sustainable. And also, I wanted to add that I don't want to see a size change in the limits. We would totally disagree with this approach in fish management. The reason being is male halibut can reproduce at 15 inches and then again at 20 inches, and females can reproduce at 20 inches. So that means if you catch a keeper fish, it's going to be, you'll get a spawn out of that fish. So we'd like to see that no changes on the size limit. And then, and just one last thing I'd like to add. I'm sorry. That we'd like to see everyone do their part as far as conservation in the industry. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Caitlin Birch, followed by Michael Racino. Caitlin, go ahead, please.
Good morning, President Sklar and commissioners. My name is Caitlin Birch, marine scientist with Oceana. We're happy to see a precautionary and proactive approach taken to ensure the sustainability of the California halibut stock, and would like to thank and recognize the recreational California halibut fishermen for proposing and supporting emergency regulations to reduce and limit halibut take. However, if there are population concerns for California halibut and potential effort shifts, we should also be reducing effort in unselective gear types such as set gill nets and trawls targeting California halibut. California halibut is among the few trawl targeted fish that don't have annual catch limits in the commercial fishery. And there are also significant discard mortality of sublegal halibut in both trawl and set gill nets. The burden of conservation should not only fall upon the recreational hook and line fishermen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Our next speaker is Michael Racino, followed by Roger Mammon. Michael, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners. Thanks for letting me join this call. My name is Mike Racino, owner-operator of the charter vessel Lovely Martha out of San Francisco. I'm a fourth generation fisherman, and I kind of wanted to piggyback a little bit on James Smith. I would like to see the 2-fish limit, and it's really important for me that we do not increase the size limit. One, because the mortality rate would just be it would be horrible. I mean, there's a lot of people out. I mean, a 22-inch fish, you can't just bounce a 22-inch fish over the rail. And I think having an increased size limit would be horrible for the fishery. Another thing too, you know, if, oh, did I lose you there?
No, we have you.
Yeah, I'm losing the call. Okay, so yeah, I definitely want to see this 2-fish size limit. That's the 2-fish limit from down to 3 to 2. And like Christine was saying, it would save about 13% of the brood stock there. So that's my comment. Thanks for letting me speak.
Our next speaker is Roger Mammon, followed by Chris Smith. Roger, go ahead, please.
Good morning. First off, I'd like to thank the staff for the presentation on the halibut and the reason for the reduced size limit. I'm all for it. The California Striped Bass Association has been concerned with all of our fisheries due to the poor water quality in the Delta. We are supporting the striped bass slot limit. I did participate last night with the public comments on white sturgeon, and they said that they couldn't do anything until 2005 to regulate the sturgeon, but here we have this emergency regulation going in without a 2-year delay. And I think that the sturgeon need just as much protection as the halibut in lieu of the red tide kill and the excessive amount of fish that have been taken out by the 6-pack charters in the Pittsburgh area. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chris Smith, followed by Greg Helms. Chris, go ahead, please. Chris, it looks like you're muted. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Got it. Okay. So anyways, my name's Chris Smith. I've been a charter boat skipper here in the Bay Area for 34 years. With Happy Hooker Sport Fishing, we currently have 2 boats out of Berkeley Marina. My son, who's 3rd generation captain, and as well as my other couple of kids. So we've got a really big stake in this fishery. I want to see, I want to say that I'm strongly for a 2-fish bag limit. And like my brother James was saying, it does affect our business, but at the same time, we do want to protect the resource and make sure that it's sustainable for everyone. Something else that he had mentioned too, about keeping a possibility of a relation change for a different size limit. Strongly disagree. And you could ask any of the industry professionals, you don't see very many fish come aboard with that have previously been netted. Okay, it's our belief and our belief system that these the fish that have been netted generally don't survive because it's been raw. So that would be a very, very bad move, and it would totally increase their mortality rate. It'd be totally detrimental to the fishery if you did do something like that. And another point too, guys, I do want to say that, I think that it'd be in the best interest too to take a look at all these other CPFVs and personal boats that are going out, and they're buying up these commercial licenses. It's an open access fishery, and there's a lot of guys out here with like 6 rods, just regular John boats, little boats that are just, pretty much just raping the industry. There's got to be something that we can do to stop this. Well, consider something that's concerned. Okay. Anyways, I said my piece. Thank you very much for listening.
Our next speaker is Greg Helms, followed by our final speaker, who is Scott Webb. Greg, go ahead, please.
Good morning, President Sklar and Commissioners. Greg Helms with OSHA Conservancy. Number one, we support the action, appreciate the foresight of the department, and especially appreciate the anglers and the industry folks that are speaking up now. And you can hear the concern for the halibut resource. We hope it does the trick. We would note that fisheries, as we confront the potential for increased, what I see as climate-driven shifts in effort and stock distribution, we're going to need to have easily adjustable controls that can be scaled for effort and distribution shifts and other changes in our fisheries. And it's not clear to me that we have those broadly enough in California fisheries. This item you're considering is an elegant, easily implementable, one hearing kind of change. And again, I support it and I hope it does the trick. But as more fisheries potentially become implicated in this kind of concern, it's not clear that the easily adjustable regulations measures are available. Luckily, as we begin to implement the Marine Life Management Act master plan update on more fisheries and conduct other types of interventions to modernize management, we should be targeting those types of controls that we can adjust in a timely fashion and efficient fashion, so that we can keep our stocks healthy. We can keep our management tracking with both the natural ebbs and flows of water temperature and other conditions, but those that we expect to increase under climate change. Hopefully we can be asking those questions and making sure those controls are made available to us to respond. Thank you so much.
And our final speaker on this item is Scott Webb. Scott, go ahead, please.
Thanks so much. Scott Webb here again, representing today Turtle Island Restoration Network and also the Resource Renewal Institute. I'll keep my comments very brief. I just want to again applaud and thank all the fishermen here on this call who so selfishly are approving this. It's really encouraging to see folks on the water here being the leaders in the conservation effort. And I just want to big thanks there. To echo some of the comments from my colleague Caitlin Birch, also would like us to look at fishing gear types that are unselected as well, to make sure again that the owners of conservation is not just the folks who are already doing it more sustainably. Again, it shouldn't fall on them. But thank you for your time, and look for the discussion.
And we have no more speakers on this item.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, speakers. Commissioners, any questions or thoughts on this? Okay, and seeing none, then we do have a motion.
I'm happy to make the motion.
Terrific. Thank you, Erica.
Okay, now it's this long, the whole thing. Okay. I move that the Commission determines, pursuant to Section 399 of the California Fish and Game Code, that adopting this regulation is necessary for the immediate conservation, preservation, or protection of birds, mammals, fish, amphibians, or reptiles, including but not limited to their nests or eggs, and for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety, or general welfare. The Commission further determines, pursuant to Section 11346.1 of the Government Code, that an emergency situation exists and finds this proposed regulation is necessary to address the emergency.
I will second that motion.
Well, I think we actually need the actual motion that the Commission adopts the emergency regulation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So I move that the Commission adopts the emergency regulation to amend subsection 28.15A related to California halibut.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, motion made by Vice President Zavaleta, seconded by Commissioner Hosser-Carmison. Roll call, please.
Vice President Zavaleta,
Aye.
Commissioner Hosser-Carmison,
Aye.
President Sklar,
Aye.
Commissioner Murray,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Terrific. The motion passes unanimously 4-0 with those attending. We move on to item number 4 with this Klamath River